Hello friends. In my last video I was talking about dependency injection, and I clearly stated that our target is to make the application loosely coupled, and for that reason I showed you that there are different methods like constructor dependency injection or method dependency injection through which we will be passing the object of one class to the other class. But the challenge came when we were working on Android in form of activities and Fragment that have got their own lifecycle method, and in that case we will not be able to control the constructors because the lifecycle will be responsible for creating object of those class and in context to fragments. So over here, to solve this problem, we have to use Dagger. So Dagger will help us to implement dependency injection. And now I will show you a simple example of how Dagger will be implementing the constructor dependency injection. What are the steps for doing so? So over here I have got 4 files now: main activity, car, engine, and car component. It's the same program I'm extending further, but with a slight modification, and that's what you need to understand now. The very first thing that we will talk from the right hand side, I will start. I have created an interface called car component. Well, first of all, I need to tell you that Dagger makes use of annotations. So over here we have got something called @component annotation, and this is a very important concept. Please follow it minutely. The @component annotation should be used only with interface or abstract class. In this particular program I don't have any abstract class, I have interface. So @component will be used with interface or abstract class. I cannot use @component with a concrete class like this. It will not work. So remember, when you are working on Dagger, you have to use @component associated to an interface. Now what this interface is doing? Well, this interface has got a method. I have given the name of the method as getCar, and it is returning an object of the car class. So over here I have a class called car, and this method is supposed to return the object or instance of this car class. That's all I have written in this interface. Now what is the benefit of writing this @component annotation? Now let's move on to main activity. Okay, please be careful over here. There's something very important coming up. What main activity would do is, the moment you have introduced @component annotation, Dagger will add something. Look over here how it is working. Over here I have whatever the name I've written to the interface, that is car component, that name is there, plus the word Dagger has been concatenated at the beginning. This is what the naming convention is. You have to follow this naming convention. I repeat, whatever interface name you have given, that name, and before that the word Dagger you have to add. You have to concatenate. That's how the Dagger implementation will take place. So Dagger car component is the complete name dot create you have to call. When it does get executed, what actually happens? We get a reference, and I've stored the reference in the form of component. Now behind the scene, what is actually happening over here is, let's try to understand. I have written a command line over here to make you understand that what actually happens behind the scene. What is happening is, there is a class called DaggerCarComponent, the name which I have written. It inherits the interface, so it's inheriting the interface. See over here, inheriting the interface. Now once it inherits the interface, this class will be responsible to give a definition of this abstract method. That's what it's doing over here. See, it's overriding function getCar, which is supposed to return the car reference over here. So it is giving the definition of this particular abstract method, and inside this abstract method what I'm doing, it is creating an object of the car class and passing engine as a parameter. We will take care about that later on, don't worry about this. So let's try to understand what is happening by this particular line. Exactly this is happening under the hood. This is what is happening. So when you are giving a call to DaggerCarComponent.create, it actually inherits the interface, and it gives the definition of the abstract method, that what you have written over here, and eventually it is going to return the reference of car object, that what you can see over here. And this is all happening by default with the help of Dagger. So this is something what you have to keep in mind. The first rule is, when you're creating interface, it should have @component annotation. Once you have that component annotation, at the execution time this particular class will be rendered by Dagger, and eventually what happens, it will generate this component, and behind the scene it has actually inherited the interface and has given the definition of this abstract method, which is happening right over here. Can you see it is saying the component.getCar. It is going to call to the abstract method, that is this over here, and eventually it will return the car. It will eventually return the car. So how the car is getting called now? So just imagine when you're writing this particular line, now you're giving a call to the car object. So control will come right over here to this particular class. Okay, so I believe you have understood the connectivity between interface and the DaggerCarComponent.create. This part I believe is clear. Now you have reached to this particular line where you are giving a call to this particular class. Now here is the second twist, the twist in the story. When you're giving a call to this particular class, this class needs the object of the engine class. So Dagger will see that, okay fine, if I have to create the object of the car engine, I need to create the object of the class engine. So I'm sorry, when Dagger sees that I need to create the object of the car class, I need to create even the object of the engine class. And for that reason, @inject annotation is given. So @inject annotation is telling that before I create the object of the car class, I need to create the object of the engine class as well. So if you take care about this particular line, what it tells Dagger is, you will create the object of car class, don't worry, but before that you inject, you create the object of the engine class. So right after this particular line, when the control comes, it will jump to the engine class. And since Dagger is creating the object of the engine class, so for that reason you have to put the annotation @inject constructor in case of engine as well. So Dagger will check that, okay fine, I will create the object of engine class provided I know that engine class also knows about Dagger. So how engine class will know about Dagger? With the help of @inject constructor. So you have to write this, then only Dagger will be able to create the object of the engine class. If you do not write this, then Dagger will have no idea that how to create the object of the engine class. I believe you can understand one thing, that in none of the statement I am creating any object. The objects are created all by Dagger. So Dagger need to know that whether Dagger has a permission to create the object of that particular class or not, and to allocate that permission you are giving this annotation. Got it? So when car engine, when this particular line or this particular line is been called, Dagger will come to the car class. So Dagger will be responsible to create the object of the car. But before it creates the object of the car, Dagger had found that it also needs the object of the engine class. So it will create the object of the engine class provided the engine class allows Dagger to create the object. So how is that permission given? How is Dagger able to create the engine class? Because of this inject operator. So when the control will come over here, it will find that, okay fine, engine has also given the permission to Dagger to create the object, and then the object will be created by Dagger of the engine class. Got it? So once the object has been created, so naturally with the help of that object I can execute this particular method that is present inside the class engine, right? So how this particular call will be done? So once the object has been created with the help of @inject decorator, now the class is penetrating inside this drive method. So if you see over here, that's how this particular object is giving a call to the drive method. So already the object of the car has been created. So car object created the engine object. So the pipelining has all been set. So now car.drive will give a call to this particular function. So once the control reach over here, it will find that it has given already created the object of engine class. So with the help of engine object, it will now give a call to the start method. So control will come right over here. It will give a call to start method. This particular statement, engine started, will come back to this particular line. Hence it is returning string, and that string will now finally come and get concatenated with this particular string, that is di-dagger, and the word car is moving and engine started. All these things will be combined together. That means engine started will come right over here plus car is moving. So this whole statement, engine started, hyphen hyphen card is moving, that will come right over here. Okay, so let's compile the program and let me show you that finally this is exactly what is happening. Well, output will not come in the, I have written this thing in the log cat, so I will go and check the log there where the output will come. But yes, now I can pass on this particular string to any text view or any particular widget. I can do it, and this whole thing has been done with the help of Dagger. So you saw that how the method, if you see over here, the object have been created with the help of constructor, but how exactly the constructor is getting involved, and that too with the help of annotation. Now you need to understand one more thing, or you need to keep in mind one more thing, that by default Android will have no idea about this annotation unless and until you add the dependency of Dagger. That also I will show you. Okay, fine, now it's all ready. So let's come to my log cat. So here is my log cat, and let me run the application one more time. I'm working on the emulator, so let's clean the data and let me build it one more time. Yes, and let's run the app one more time over here, and then we will see the statement will be appearing over here. Look, engine started is coming from engine class, and there is a concatenation of hyphen hyphen, that is also been done, and then car is moving, that has been also appended, and finally this whole word is been sent to the DI, and the DI is a tagline, so DI hyphen DAG is a tagline, and this whole statement is now been visible. Got it? So finally you saw how the data is coming in context to the class via the help of interface. So in this particular video I showed you two annotation which are so important. One is called @component annotation and @inject annotation. @component annotation, always keep it in mind, it will be associated with interface, and that interface will be responsible to create, or that interface should give a call in such a way with the help of this abstract method to create an object of a concrete class, and that is all done by virtue of this particular statement, which is under the wood actually giving a call to the inheritance in this fashion. So I have written this particular line, and this is all that is happening under the wood, but I don't have to write this. The Dagger will be doing this whole thing behind the scene. Got it? So now I will show you the let me close all this file, and I will show you how the dependency need to be added. So let's come to my Gradle script. Over here you have to add two dependency. One is the Dagger library and the other one is the annotation. So KA, that means Kotlin application by default does not support annotation, so for that reason you have to give a call to this particular statement, and finally in the ID you have to add this one, so that you are giving the instruction to Kotlin that you need to apply the annotation process. So AP stands for annotation, so you are giving instruction to Kotlin that you need to support annotation, because by default this annotation was based on Java. Remember, this annotation was actually formed in context to Java, but see over here Java X is there. By default and Android Kotlin do not support annotation, so once you apply this KAPT, then only the annotation will be applicable in context to Kotlin. Okay, so Dagger is all about annotations, and we saw that how two annotation @component, @inject annotation, they are working, and that's how the constructor dependency injection is been applied in this particular program. So I will tell you that you need to get yourself acquainted with Dagger dependency annotation, because after all these methods are good enough for creating independent objects for the class, and that's how and your application will be loosely coupled rather than tightly coupled. Okay, so that's all from this video presentation. I hope you got the clue. In fact, I have planned to come up with a couple of more videos in regard to dependency injection, and that will be very soon. Okay, until then, have a nice time. Bye bye.